There's new talent everywhere on this Chiefs roster, and they're starting to make some noise. I'm really excited about it. I know that you are. We're going to talk about which wide receiver is stepping out and stepping up. What happened today? Where is Drew Tranquill? Where is Chris Jones? What's going on with the defense? And who is going to take that spot that Najee Johnson had on lock until he got hurt? Welcome in. I'm Ryan Tracy. This is RGR Football. Ryan going rogue. If you're new and you haven't even heard that before, I probably don't say it enough, but welcome. Hope you guys are doing well. This is the Monday Night Q&A. If you are one of us, then you're already squared away. If you are not, make sure you like and sub and hit that bell so you become part of it. There's a lot of folks in here. We do act like a fam, so I'm glad that you guys are here. Get in it and get going because I'm excited about where the rookies are going, and it's starting to pick up pace. I've had a great day out. I want to welcome you guys in. This is your show. So once you're subbed, you are all good to go, and you guys are running this because your questions are what we're doing tonight. All I'm going to do is provide the answers and my take on what you guys are talking about. Now, I am solo tonight. Dan is tied up with family. He and the little one are going to be coming around because mom's going out and deploying again. So they are enjoying their time, and if you guys are seeing this, I hope that you're having a blast. So I got it locked. We're all good. We're going to move forward. But it's one of those situations that I'm pretty excited about just where it's all going to go, because as much as we were going to see an evolution last year because we knew Tyreek had kind of dissipated, right? We're going to see another evolution again. So welcome in. Welcome to everybody. Nice to see you guys. Claude, you made it to a live stream. Don't see you that often. Nice to have you in. Stevie Keys is here, our old compatriot. Nice to see you, Stevie. Got a lot going on. Tom's in here. I'm racking up your questions. You guys are on fire already. I'm already behind. We've been here like 2 minutes, and I'm already behind. So cheers. Now, I've got a couple of things that I do want to go over as well, but we're going to start right in with Thundarius because this is a big deal. Congratulations, buddy. Anytime you have a surgical procedure on your spine, that's a tough one. I'm glad that tumor's gone and it's out. Kudos to the Mayo Clinic folks. I've been up there, unfortunately, for some similar type maneuvers with some of my loved ones, and they do a hell of a job. I'm pulling for you, and I'm glad that you are cancer-free at this point. Well done. Kick its ass. We'll just keep on rolling. So I'm sure I speak for everyone here, and there's a lot of support in here for you, pal. So I say the same thing, and I know everybody in Dog Nation's pulling for you too. I got some family down there that would be very happy to hear that one of their fellow dogs is doing well. So cheers, pal. That said, we're going to get into a bunch of your questions, that's for sure. But I wanted to start kind of with an early glimpse of what I think is the biggest story, and that is who's stepping out now that today was the 10-10-10. They had 3 days of padded practices so they get some hitting in, get themselves loose, that kind of thing. But then they started to go back to this 10-10-10, and that's when Patrick and the offense and Andy kind of set 10 plays aside for them, and Spags and the defense set 10 plays aside for them, and then 10 for special teams. And the whole thing is about getting something done, doing something that maybe you haven't had scripted yet or that you're trying to really emphasize and drill down on. Well, for the offense today, it was deep balls, and I was happy to see it. And I want to show you guys a couple of them. You see if I can get these to come through because of their stuff. You know that last safety pulls up a little bit, but you want to see this release. Boom, it's out, and he's on. And you can talk about the coverage. It is a scout team that's out there in the 10-10-10s. In fact, you'll see B.J. Thompson rushing the passer, which I am happy to see that he's getting some reps against the ones. That's a good thing for B.J. Thompson. But Rashee looks smooth, and he looks thick. And somebody asked me today, I think it was on 8-10. I was on the drive, and I appreciate you guys for having me on 8-10. So if you guys missed that, you can go listen on their channel as well. But it looks a little bit different than does this one. Similar concept, but this is Sky looking a little bit more wide. And I was asked to really compare the two of them. And what it is, for me, is a little bit more quickness, a little bit more raw athleticism from Sky, whereas a little bit more power, a little bit more build, and a little bit more Juju-esque kind of thing from Rashee. And now Rashee had some plays behind the line of scrimmage today too, and that's going to be a big key for him going forward. So I like seeing the fact that they're going back and forth and they're doing things that have similar results, but are coming at it from a different point of view. You can see here just, he's got a thickness that most of these receivers, especially the smaller ones, don't have. Even Ross doesn't. Maybe Watson's the only guy on the receiving corps that would have something similar to that. So I'm keyed up, and I feel pretty good about where everything is with them and Rashee in particular. So wanted to point that out first. I know you guys are still asking questions. I'm going to get those racked up here. Kyle and Cody got some. Don't worry if I haven't answered your questions, just because A, I haven't started yet, and B, as I explain and I get something out, it generally slows me down. So don't worry, I'm going to get to them all. Absolutely every super chat. You guys have been really gracious and supportive lately. Every one of those will get an answer no matter what. And I will do my best to get to the rest of the topics. Maybe not everyone's question, but the rest of the topics. So that said, to get the business out, if you guys want to support the channel, you can always get the gear. It's in the store. The link is in the description. And I've got some new things coming as well. A couple of good ideas from you guys lately. And then we're going to get to later in the show, a couple more clips that I want to show you. About the wide receivers, because it's wide open now, and there's so many of them that I think could contribute. So with that said, let's take a break. We'll do some questions here, and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about the defense when we get down to the linebacker level, because Drew Tranquill had some great things to say. We'll hit that here coming up in a little bit. But Steve was first in with the question, and I want to hit his. Malik Herring is having a good camp. What is his potential at DE and DT? And also, what about our third-round draft pick, Chamari Connors? I haven't heard much about him. Yeah, Chamari's running down with the twos. He and Mike Edwards are the second stringers right now, as I understand. Now, there's a couple other guys in camp that could pull something, and really maybe they get some second-team reps every now and then. But it's Chamari and Mike Edwards that are running it. Now, Deion Bush is going to probably make this roster, or they're going to have to consider him making the roster, because Deion plays a ton of special teams. And that's where I need to see and hear about Chamari. That's the one thing that I haven't heard, but I know that Steve Spagnuolo in particular is very excited about Chamari Connors. So I'm not worried about, not hearing from him yet. Now, Malik just came up today in what was a discussion with Steve Spagnuolo at the press conference about his versatility. And that is defensive end, defensive tackle. Yes, he can do a little bit of everything, but he's also playing a little bit of stand-up. He's circling, he's looping, he's running some stunts. And anytime you can do all that, you make yourself more valuable to the team. You make yourself that versatility monster that they can align in some funky way or come up with a new idea to get something done. And that's really critical. The same thing is true of Drew Tranquill. And you know what? Maybe I guess we'll just go to it now since we're on topic here. Oh, no, actually, this clip is not that one. Spags talked about Drew Tranquill being the same thing. He started all three positions in the base linebacker set. He's come in as the nickel linebacker next to Nick Bolton, and he's coming as the nickel linebacker Mike in place of Nick Bolton. Plus, he can play the single backer. He did that in LA some. He talked about Los Angeles and the difference that Spags defense is to what he's played in before. We'll get to that later. But Herring is clearly ahead of Kendo at this point. Herring and Thompson are going to be the two guys that we need to watch. But as I understand, Felix is starting to pick up pace. We talked about him yesterday. If you missed the Sunday night show, go check out Sunday Night Live. That's what we're going forward here as we get to the season. Sunday Night Live will be every game night. If they happen to be playing on Monday night or a Thursday night, we'll adjust accordingly. But Sunday Night Live is the post-game show that you will see me or Dan or both or maybe all of us. We're going to try to throw some new wrinkles at you this season because we got a lot of great analysis on here that we can't always get on the camera at the same time. So we're going to work on it. But Felix Anudike-Uzomah, BJ Thompson, and Malik Herring all rotating. Some of the twos, getting a little crack every now and then. I think that's going to be great. I really hope that Malik can take the step forward because there's an opportunity here because I think the Chiefs are going to more of a mush rush landscape. Mike Dan is going to play inside. He's going to play outside. Menahue's going to play inside. He's going to play outside. The only two guys that I think are dedicated specific spots on this defensive front are Derek Nottie and Danny Shelton if he gets onto the roster or if he gets elevated for a game. They're getting good work out of Wise, who's starting for Chris Jones right now. They're getting some out of Matt Dickerson, who got mentioned today as well. So I think there's a good bit there of guys that can play both positions. Malik Herring is definitely one of them, Steve. Appreciate you. How are you feeling about the CJ extension at this point? Jackson, I'm feeling pretty calm, pretty normal. Folks, we got lightning in my area, and I'm on satellite internet. So thanks to Elon and Starlink, you can see me live. But lightning will mess with it. So if I should drop out, I'll try to get right back on. Don't you worry. I still feel that it's coming. I still feel, and I said it today on 8:10 on the lunch drive. I'm not going to get too worried until like the 16th or 18th of August, because that's when he has to be prepared for the regular season. I don't care if he misses every single snap of the preseason. Doesn't matter to me at all. But he's got to be in play shape. He's got to be ready to take on week one, because they can't afford to drop a game. They need home field advantage. As much as Patrick is great, you got to have home field advantage if you want to make a run through the playoffs. So I think that's critical. Thanks, Jackson. Lee, hope you're doing well. How would you rate the top 4 safeties? In terms of order, it's Reed, Cook, Edwards, Connor right now for me. And Reed had a nice pick today, made a good read, as I understand, jumped a route. Cook's coming along. He's calling defense. He had a pick yesterday. He's stepping up in a way that I think really helps him. And I think as he goes along, he's going to get only better. Now, he had more of a penchant for making big plays in college than Juan Thornhill did. And he talked about Juan Thornhill, really helping him out the other day when he was in front of the cameras. So I'm excited for where he's going, and I think he's going to be able to contribute pretty quickly. Michael, thanks for the super chat. Appreciate you, buddy. Is it possible that Travis Kelce is setting up his future career to hype up his podcast, since his ratings dropped 6 spots to number 131 overall? Is it possible? Like, you mean with the camp altercations? I don't think that plays anything into it. No. But he's definitely setting himself up for his next evolution after football by doing the podcast. I think you're going to see either a television show or shows. I think the Kelce brothers want to become the next Manning brothers, and I think they have it in them. Quite frankly, I think Travis is just as engaging as Peyton, and I think Jason's more engaging than Eli. So the fact that they don't have Coop might be a problem, but maybe you can adopt him or something. But yeah, I do feel, Michael, that's a really good point, that I do feel like they are pointed in the direction of trying to get there, where they can have a media presence and career afterwards. Jeff Schwartz started it, and Mitch has joined him a little bit, but they're not quite the Mannings, right? I think the Kelces can be bigger than any of the brother teams, and I look forward to it personally. Lee had another one, and thanks for your support, Michael. Appreciate it. You guys, if you want to leave a super chat, it helps the channel and all of us here, and I will definitely get you an answer tonight. What's the review of how our 2 new O-line tackles are doing? And Lee, all reports so far have been very, very promising. Menahue seems to be the best pass rusher in camp right now, a little bit ahead of George Karlaftis, but Juwan Taylor has held them both scoreless so far as I understand from the beat reporters and the guys I have on the ground watching every day. So I'm feeling really good about that. Donovan has taken a few reps off, but he's been playing very well too. The elbow does not seem to be any kind of issue for Donovan Smith as we speak now, and that's a big plus, and I think that's probably the bigger concern for most folks as we move forward, is that you just don't want to have a recurrence of an injury for Donovan Smith, and I think other than that, you're going to be all right. Thanks, Lee. And let's see, Fallen from Grace. Happy Monday. Thank you. Appreciate it. Who's a dark horse for running back, wide receiver, corner, and DL? What are the positions that you see the depth being a problem, if any at all? Good question. DT has me a little bit worried. Not so much edge, but actual true tackle. Wise is really an edge that's playing a 3-tech right now. Obviously, Derek Notty's Derek Notty. It's going to be really intriguing for me to know, like, how is Turk Wharton progressing? He was out of practice today, but that was for a personal reason, not because of the injury. He's on the pup and supposedly making progress. I want to know just where that's going. Now, Kendrick Coburn has been quiet so far, and I really do feel like he has a big upside. And Spags was calling out Matt Dickerson. So those are the names to watch. And right now, the dark horse, I think, might be Wise. Because it seems like when they plug him in there for Chris Jones, like that's telling you something right off the bat. For corner, let's see. I'd have to go down. And the guy that I kind of like the way that he moves is Khalif Hailasi. I'm trying to get his name right. He played at Western Kentucky. And I only got one film of the defensive side of Western Kentucky this year. So I haven't seen a whole lot of his film. You guys know that I'm high on Nick Jones. He was behind Najee Johnson, but I do think he has a chance to make it. And then the other guy that I'm really intrigued by is Iko Boyedo from K-State. And maybe even Lamar Jackson, the other Lamar Jackson. Those are two guys there. For wide receiver, I'm going to give this away. In fact, since you set me up, Fallen, I'm going to give you guys this. This guy, I think, might be an option. This is Nico Remigio, who looks like a running back, but is, in fact, a wide receiver. And he's my dark horse. Right now, he's got returnability. He clearly knows how to run a deep route. And he and Michelle have hooked up a couple times. That's against the one defense, by the way. So he's my dark horse. He's not in my top 7 right now because James, Watson, Ross are my bottom end of the top 7. But I mean, just watch this. Shell's got a nice smooth release. Not really hossing it, but that's a good 30 yards. And boom, he's got some wiggle. He clearly beat Nick Bolton there and was in front of the safety. So I think it's intriguing. So he's my dark horse there. Running back, I don't think there's really any. I don't think you're going to see P. Ryan make the roster. Jerry Neely, possibly. I think he's a practice squad player. I think it's going to be the top 4 unless they move on from Clyde. I really think that is pretty much what it is. So that's a pretty solid group, though. So I'm not too worried about it. Let's see. And that goes back to what Jackson's asking about with Prince showing off his pass catching ability and potential pass blocking. Could we see a preseason or early season trade for CEH? What type of compensation would we get? You're not going to get more than a 7th round pick for Clyde. If you were able to, go for it, because I agree. And I can't remember, was it Spags? Somebody called out that Prince needs the reps because they do need to work on pass blocking. But he's clearly had the hands that we didn't even expect so far in camp. So I do think you could see, as running backs get hurt, and there's going to be a bunch of them get hurt. Let's see. You have the Jonathan Taylor situation, which is just wacky to begin with. In fact, I'm probably going to do a piece on NFL33.com. That's the Substack. You guys go use the discount. There's an RGR discount for all of you guys, but there's also a 20% on all the free open posts over there. Just click on that 20% discount and get yourself subbed. I'll probably do something on the Colts situation right now because throwing your maybe arguably the best running back in the game under the bus is just ridiculous on Irsay's part. But it seems that there's a serious impasse there. If they're trying to use his back against him, which he says he didn't even report an issue, so they can put him on NFI and not pay him, that just sounds like retaliation to me. But now they lost Moss, their backup. So there could be a significant need there. Ballard and Veach know each other very well. So like if you were looking to move Clyde, that could be a destination now because of all the hubbub. So I would keep that on the back burner for you. Clinton, what date if Chris Jones isn't extended should the Kingdom worry about losing CEO of Sack Nation? Let me put it this way. He needs to be in by August 18, in my opinion, to be ready for the season. That doesn't mean they have to have an extension done. They can take it out. I don't think they will because I don't think veteran players and GMs don't like to negotiate during the season. It becomes a huge distraction. So I don't think that they will. Excuse me. Oh, it's one of those nights. I'm going to sneeze a little bit, folks. But that doesn't mean that they can't get a deal done prior to the league year next year or something like that. There's always the tag that then you can negotiate underneath of and then remove the tag, sign the deal. I don't think there's anything right now between now and Super Bowl that they have to like be a worry point. They have a way. He will definitely play this season. If they choose to trade him, they would choose to trade him. That's okay, but he'll be in because he's under contract now, and he can't afford to hold out the whole season. He can't do a Lev Bell. So I firmly believe that. So it would come down to, I'd like to see something happen. I'd like to get him in camp on a deal. That's kind of the way that I'm leaning right now. Thank you though, Clinton. I appreciate it. W and MB. If, as you've said a few times, we end up keeping 7 wide receivers, will we just have 3 running backs or maybe 1 less offensive lineman? And you nailed it. That's what I was talking about today. When it comes to, in particular, I think Rashee Rice, in terms of like who's definitely on this roster, Rashee Rice would be number 4 on my book. With KT, Sky, MVS, Rice, draft pick, you're not getting rid of him. Not even if he wasn't playing as well as he is. And we're going to hear from him in a minute. I'm going to play a good chunk of his presser for you guys. If you haven't seen it in his own words, I want you to hear from him because I think he's giving away just how well he's making the adjustment. So we'll do that here in just a minute after we talk about this. But I think there's a possibility of only 3 running backs, especially if there is a market for CEH. And I also feel like if you take Rice out, who would be the bottom of those 7? It would be James, Watson, and Ross, right? It's a whole lot easier, in my opinion, to get, say, Darian Kennard to the practice squad successfully without another team picking him up off of waivers than it is to get any one of those receivers to the practice squad. I really do feel that Wanya Morris looks like he's right now in the driver's seat to be the swing tackle. Nick Allegretti is definitely the best backup they have on the interior. Those guys are 1 and 2, no matter what. Those are linemen 6 and 7, in my opinion. Now, Lucas Niang, you have a big investment in, and hopefully he can round into shape. Prince Teguanago has been getting second-team snaps. So there's another one. So then you could get to 8. But you could call it at that point. And if you needed to put Kennard, who you also have a draft pick invested in, a 5th rounder, if you needed to get him to the practice squad, this is how I would do it. I would keep 8 offensive linemen, only 8, keep 7 wide receivers, put Darian Kennard to the practice squad. I don't think anyone will pick him up. KT is then on the roster for day 1 of your 53. The next day, he can go to IR, which would open that 3-week window, right? He may need that. And then you would immediately bring Kennard back, and now you're back up to 9 offensive linemen. That's exactly how I would do it. That, again, is if everybody continues to perform the way that they have so far. Now, the wrinkles are, say you move on from Clyde and you get a trade done, and you only have 3 running backs right now in McKinnon, Pacheco, and now Prince that you feel you need to take. Ely could sneak in there. You might have a need for him. You'll definitely need to pull someone up. Attrition at the running back position, you're going to need 4 throughout a season, and that's okay. I do think they'll be able to find some other running back bodies that they'll be able to put on the practice squad and have in case of emergency. So I'm comfortable with them going only with 3. It also allows you to take 4 tight ends, and I think that that's what they're aiming to do. So I think we're going to get to these next couple questions, and then we're going to take a look and hear from Rashee Rice himself. Let's see here. And thank you, W. And Quentin, thank you. What happened to Cornell Powell? I don't think we've heard about him this training camp. No, I have not heard a peep. He will not make this roster. I don't even think he's going to make the practice squad. I could be wrong. I think Kakoa is outplaying him right now, as I understand. I personally like Freifogel a little bit, and Nico Remigio is probably 8 right now in terms of his return capability and that clip that we just watched. I do think there's a lot of value there. So I think Cornell Powell's days are numbered in Kansas City and certainly in St. Joe. Let's see. Patrick, I love how well Rice is progressing as a rookie, and I think we are very close to being all in on the Ross hype. I'm going to stay calm. I'm not going to go all in on anything yet. He's got to make it through camp, and then I'll start to feel a lot better in terms of his ability to stay healthy. Also, tell Dan thanks for the fantasy football advice on Twitter. Absolutely. Dan's the fantasy dude, man. Like, I only play 2 teams, and they're both like long-term dynasty or long-term keeper leagues. We run defensive individual players and corners and stuff. So like, I don't play normal everyday like common formats. So Dan is the dude. But I'm glad that you bring up Rice, and I do have him stacked over here so that we can hear him, and hopefully the audio should come through, I believe. If not, you guys are going to have to tell me, but let's see how it works.
Hello. So how is camp going for you? Because last time we talked to you, you were with the rookies. Now you're with the vets. How's it going for you? How you feel
It's going pretty good. I think OTAs have helped me be able to adjust just because kind of had the same mentality of OTAs that we have now.
feeling with camp? Dealing with the same with the pads on. How different was that for you in going through this process?
Not too much different. I love football and can't play football without pads, so it's just another part of the game.
How much does it add to it to be able to practice in front of fans?
It's pretty cool, honestly. I know Arrowhead, they have like a huge fan base, so just to get a little glimpse of it right now, kind of give me a little head start to prepare for the games.
Rashee, where do you feel like you still need to fine tune some things
Honestly, just certain snap counts and being able to, adjust as far as, when the defense moving, I need to be able to adjust my certain routes.
There are certain things that every quarterback is going to prefer. Like, what have you learned in the week so far about maybe where Pat wants you to be or do in certain plays?
He expects his receivers to be in a specific spot at a specific time, and he's going to bomb the ball. So don't look back and run, look up and run.
Along those lines, what is he like as a teacher as far as teaching you what you need to know?
He's a great coach, great brother off the field, and he's just going to let you know exactly what he's thinking so that you can basically be in his head on and off the field.
Matt Nagy talked
as far as getting into his head.
Can you say that again?
Do you feel like you're getting there as far as getting into his head?
Yeah, I'm becoming real confident. I think he can see that.
Rashee, Matt Nagy talked about the timing of Patrick. How important is that, and how have you gone from that adjustment from college to now?
I mean, like I said, just learning how to run out of certain routes and running full speed, just running full speed the whole play.
Do you feel pressure to?
It's funny. I'm going to cut it off there because two things really stand out to me in what Rashee was saying. And if you guys want, I can repost this. It's available on the Chiefs website too. But one is that he is confident, and his confidence is gaining, and that's key. I think that we didn't see from Sky Moore last year. Maybe that had to do with the special teams work. Maybe it didn't. I don't know. But clearly, Rasheed Rice is walking in with more confidence. And this is the other thing. And for him to bring it up is that not only is he in shape, I know he puked on day one, whatever, that's fine. But for him to understand and be the guy that says, hey, I know that I have to go out there and I have to keep running all the time. He's already ahead of where McCole Hardman was. That's what stands out to me is that maturation process. He's already lights years ahead. Patrick was still telling McCole to have to run and complete routes last season. That's part of why he's not here. And I think that's really, really optimistic in giving us an idea of just how dedicated he's going to be and where he's able to jump into the fray now. I love that they worked him on underneath stuff and behind the line of scrimmage things today. That's the first that I had heard of it, and I'm really happy to see that. But I'm sure there's a lot of opinion out there. Gary made it. Nice to see you, Gary. Jeremy's in as well. That's awesome. And I think as the old hands around here go, the old hands in camp are seeing that too, and that Rasheed's getting the respect and the support that I do feel is demonstrating that the team feels that he's farther along than most rookies are, and quite frankly, some of the guys that we've had questions about in the past. So, hey, it's all good news from that point. Let me pick back up with the questions. We got those. I'm going to knock a few of these out real quick just so I don't repeat them. Because you guys know me and I could make mistakes. Oscar, nice to see you. Glad you're back. I haven't made it to 11 in a while, but glad to finally make it because football is almost back. Absolutely. Plus, I wanted to visit KC. Any places you recommend to visit for barbecue, beer, or whiskey? There is a little hole in the wall that Kent and I went to. Oh, I'll have to look up the name of it. It's a cocktail bar that I thought was super cool. I had a good time. Whiskey goes a long way. I am partial, and I will shout out my favorites because Boulevard's Boulevard. I still love Free State out in Lawrence. Alma Mater, I've had some nice beers from. But the one that treated us super well, and Cody's in the chat tonight. Cody will be able to tell you. Treated us great, treated me great on kind of dropping in on them around draft time in KC. It was KC Beer Co. Super nice people, great beer, and an outside area patio that I think is super cool. So I would check that out. As far as barbecue, my brother does a lot, and his comparison for like a lot of his is right up there with the pros. So I eat at home a lot when I'm in town, but slaps, Joe's if you want a sandwich or ribs in particular. I like the burn ends at Q39. I hear Char Bar's made some changes. I wasn't huge on them a couple of years ago, but they're on my list to visit this summer, so I'm getting there. So I would check out all of those for sure. And then there's always the old standbys, Arthur Bryant's and Gates. Can't really go wrong there. So I would check those out, Oscar. And you guys give him your thoughts on what's the hot place right now. Where does he have to go if he's getting some barbecue here in the next couple of weeks? You guys may know of any of the new ones more than I do. So hey, could easily be there. Miss Holly's in the house. Nice to see you. Tomstown. Thank you, Holly. I appreciate that one. Should have thought about that. BB's Lawn. Awesome. Scott, I haven't seen any update on Tommy yet. Holly might even know better than me since, they're pals. Not to put you on the spot. But let's see. Kyle, start one, bench one, move one to guard, and cut one Chiefs center. Grunhard, Creed, Hudson, Wigman. That's a good one, Kyle. That is a good one. Okay. Let's see. I'm going to make this so that it fits the Andy Reid scheme. So we're not talking about playing for Marty. We're not talking about Todd. We're talking about playing for Andy in this version, or maybe let's put it this way. Let's call it the Philly version of his offense, right? So it would be Grunny at 4, Hudson at 3, Creed at 2, and Wigman would be the top guy in Andy's system. It's a shame that he didn't play for him before. He's more like Kelce than he is like Creed, and I think that that's a better match. You guys tell me what you think down in the comments. I look forward to hearing them. And if you're not watching live, if you're watching us on replay, make sure you like, sub, and hit that bell. But leave it in your comments too. How would you rank these 4 guys at center? Great question, Kyle. Appreciate you. Cody, thank you very much. Given how the wide receivers are performing, over under on Rashee 301, I'll take the over. Sky 501, I'll take the over. MVS 751. Ooh, that's close, but I'm going to take the over. I think what does that come out to? We're talking a grand total of like 1,600 yards max. I think Kelce is still in the 1,200 range. So we're talking 2,800 yards. The running backs are going to get some. I mean, there's plenty of room left to go around. If he makes the roster, Justin Ross, 151 yards. If he makes the roster, I will take the over on that. I think the big question is if he makes the roster, then he will have gotten through, I think, the most physically demanding part for him, in that when he does get into ball games, he's going to get 10, 15 snaps. So it's not like he's grinding like he is now. So if he can stay healthy through camp, make the 53, I think he'll have multiple opportunities in a couple of games. I think he'll easily break 151. Easily. Great question, Cody. Stevie's back. Nice to see you, buddy. How crazy am I for campaigning that we carry 7 on the roster? You're not crazy at all, because I've been saying the same thing for more than a few weeks here. And especially for me, it was KT's injury sealing the deal there. Like you got to have enough ammo in the backpack to get it all done. And on this particular team, it feels like you're hurting yourself if you cut one of these guys and you're unable to get them in the practice squad. So I'm leaning in your direction right now, Stevie, for sure. And I have been for quite a bit. To my amateur eye, Tyreek is the fastest man I've ever seen on a football field. So why is John Ross the record holder in the 40? Lack of pads or something else? No, Tyreek was not at the combine, so he didn't have an official time. And John Ross is the record holder for the combine. That is why. I will say this, though. On my watch, John Ross was faster. But obviously was not able to learn the game, adjust to the physicality, or really make the plays that Tyreek was. That's really, really straightforward. Kev, have you heard about Tyreek's comments about Mahomes recently? Not about Mahomes. I heard the thing about how he feels that he wants to bring a championship to Miami, just like that he's going to work so hard, just like he did here. Except he fails to realize that Tua is not even the same ocean, let alone the same boat as Patrick Mahomes, and I think it's a little bit out there. But no, I haven't heard the Mahomes content. Hit me back, Kevin, and I'll grab it out of the chat. Knicks fan, thank you for the support again, 2 nights in a row. Appreciate you, buddy. I hope they keep 7 because Tony's gets hurt a lot. That's the thing. Is like I could see him, and like I said, all of my projection numbers for him were based on him playing 14 games minimum. If he's out, if he goes to IR after he goes to the 53, and he will go to the 53, unless there's a giant setback, and they are going to set him for the year. He's going to miss a minimum of 3 games right there. So he's already down in my projections. Is there a possibility that he gets hurt again? It's possible. I don't know, but that's exactly what I'm thinking. Is if you have 7, you really have 6. And that's really just the way that I think it's going to boil down. You got to protect yourself and make sure that Patrick has the targets that he needs. And that, in the end, is what we're coming back to. Now, I'm going to go grab some more. I do want to shout out Mark Hanners. Nice welcome to the memberships, folks. The memberships, I guess people haven't been getting the members notifications lately. I've got a couple of members-only videos that have gone out over the last month or two, and nobody seems to have seen them. So I'm going to have to check on that. But if you join at the rookie level or above, you get the behind the scenes, the Frank stuff, the stuff that I won't put out in public. Dan's happy to cuss in public on the YouTube algorithm. I'm just a little shy about that. So I try to keep it behind the doors. You also get into the Discord, which is our community just for RGR members. You can get into that by signing up as a rookie level or better member here on the channel. The join button is somewhere down over here. And then when you log on to Discord, you just connect your YouTube account to it, and you're in like Flynn. Everybody can take a look at it right now if you want to just see what it's about by following this bit.ly link. That'll just give you like the foyer, like the opening. What do you call that? The first room, the main room when you walk in, the lobby. It's the lobby of a hotel, basically. FLDB set it up, and you can see that for everything right now. But if you want behind the scenes, join the memberships like Mark did. Mark, welcome. Hope that you enjoy it. I know that you will. And again, folks, if you want gear or anything, you can get over here to the gear store. It's that bit.ly/RGR store with the S capitalized. Unfortunately, Bitly's like super case dependent. So you got to hit all those characters in the way that they expect. Holly, thanks for mentioning Rosedale. I should have remembered that one as well. I'm just scanning back up to get more questions for you guys. Scuba, I'm going to get to your super chat here shortly. Scott, we answered what little I know about Tommy. As I understand, he missed 2 plays, I want to say, and came back out. None the worse for wear. Evidently, it was he rolled his ankle on his landing foot after a punt. So I don't think that it's anything catastrophic. Let's see. Razgriz, have we seen improvement in Joshua Williams this camp? He seems to be quiet. And to me, it's Watson over Williams at this time. And that's a fair approximation. What I've heard is that Najee was outplaying both Jalen and Joshua. Sorry. And that's why Najee was getting looks with the ones. So now I think the last 2 days, I've seen more clips of Joshua getting beat, but I've also seen him have a PBU. Jalen's been pretty quiet. Both of them have in reality, but I think they're right there at 4 and 5 right now. Nick Jones is going to be the question. Right now, I still have him in the 6. And then Spags did mention DiCaprio Boodle giving him some good looks the other day too. So I know he was one of the guys fighting with Kelce, but it was in there. But I also want to get back to this youth is one thing, and this is clearly something that they want guys to play with an edge. They want guys to fit their system. And Drew Tranquill had some comments today about his reasoning for coming to Kansas City. It was about the fit in the system. And I want you guys to hear that if you missed it yet. So here's Drew Tranquill.
10 or 11 teams involved, and as dominoes fell, that list shrunk, but there was about 5-6 teams that last day I was kind of choosing between. And I think just talking to Coach Spags, talking to Brett Veach, talking to Andy Reid, I just felt really valued here. Felt like they were going to use a lot of my strengths, maximize me as a player here, and that excited me and ultimately led to my decision to come here.
That's really what it's about is this is the third time, many had the same thing to say, that we've heard about a defensive player that had other options, that came and chose to play in Kansas City, not just because of coach, but because of Patrick as well. I heard the same thing from Justin Watson. That's a little bit more clear to me, just because, you're playing offense with Patrick Mahomes. That is, pretty easy sell in my opinion. So, but it's good to hear that it's not just about getting the contract. It's about the fit and about Drew kind of outing the defensive staff a little bit, about the fact that they're going to use him to what his strengths are. That means coverage, blitz, and the ability to be like the X factor, the guy that roams a little bit, kind of like Tyron used to do when he was in that Robert down to the nickel corner kind of area where he would ad lib a little bit. It sounds like that's the freedom they're giving Drew Tranquill as well. He's not technically listed as a starter. The starters are Nick, Willie, and Leo right now in the base defense, but he's subbing in quite a bit, as I understand, and he looks not only the part, but he looks like he might be the X factor on the defense here. And I'm satisfied to say that that's coming from the linebacker position, because I think in recent years it's been downhill, and I think the whole position's being treated like the running backs of the defense, right? That they're being downgraded, they're being not as interested in, and I think that's sad in a way, but it's also a way that you can get great talent to make differences in ball games. And the other thing that Drew Tranquill had to say today was just how much that this team is still about winning. It's not about how much you're playing. It's not about what else you're doing. It's about getting W's, and I think that has to keep you hungry. He talked about the fact, and this is a little inside news, he might have gotten reprimanded a little bit by the staff about, hey, don't give everything away, okay? Because he talked about how Andy's using a picture of the Super Bowl ring as the first slide in every presentation they make on install, on planning, on team meetings. And that's just constant visual representation and reminders of, this is what we're going for. We've been to the top of the mountain. We got to go back, and this is how we're doing it. And I love that concept. Like, just a complete, unabashed, this is where we're going. Back to back is our goal, no matter what. So I'm excited about that. That makes me feel pretty good. I saw somebody say that they didn't see any of the member videos. I'm going to re-up them or something, or see what I can do. I'm not sure why people are not getting those. They've had a lot of changes to the YouTube platform lately, so maybe there's something going on I'm not aware of. But we're gonna check that out. And here we're gonna get on the speed rush. I got about 15 questions left. If you guys have a super chat or a question you want in, make sure you get it in now. Help me with the question marks before them, like Maestro did here. That will definitely help me. Preseason is coming in 2 weeks. What should we expect to look for at this point at training camp? So the next couple of days, they're off. I believe they're off tomorrow, if I remember correctly. This was the 10-10-10, and then tomorrow, let me check the schedule. Tomorrow's August 1. Yes, they are off tomorrow on Tuesday. And then they're back at it for 4 days straight. I think they're going to have a day of pads in there. I don't think it's going to be super heavy hitting. So what you're looking for now is who's getting reps with Patrick and who's getting pass rush in lieu of Chris Jones. Do they start to differentiate the packages? Mike Dana being out has been a complication, but that should allow the young guys to get a shot a little bit more. The guy to watch in the next couple of practices, certainly this week, maybe the next 2 weeks for me, is Felix. I think Karlaftis is going to take a step forward, and I think he's been helping Felix a little bit. I think Felix is still playing from behind. Steve Spagnuolo confirmed what I said yesterday. That the OTAs just set him behind and he's still working to catch up. I think he's accelerating. Spags called it climbing today. So, like, good news on the Felix front. And I think FAU is going to get there. So watch him the next couple of days as well. Stevie has one. I have to go back and delve into it more deeply. But it seemed like Justin Watson was the A staple wide receiver in 12 and 13. I can't remember 12, but 13 definitely. Because if you're going to put 13 out there, you're generally going to get a defense to switch over and put their base defense out, more linebackers, less safeties. And so when it comes down to all the misdirection and everything, even though you have multiple tight ends out there, you're going to have to get to the position where you're going to have to block more safeties or more linebackers, and you want to have, especially if something gets loose, a guy with a little bit more girth to him in terms of blocking. Now, that's not to say that MVS won't block. He'll try. Sky does a great job. Sky's actually the highest rated blocker at the wide receiver position from last season. But Watson certainly has the beef to do it. So I think that's probably why, Stevie. Thor, great name. What could the franchise be for Chris Jones next year? It would be the average of 5. I want to say that would put it at 26-ish. I am not 100% on that. I'll ask Chris Clark when he gets back because I know he's monitoring all the cap and tag stuff. I haven't really kept up on next year's numbers, but it should be in that range. Alex, what city or country city do you think would make the most interesting expansion team? Or division. I like that you mentioned division. Here's what I would like to see. If I were in meetings in the NFL front office, and I'm a little partial here. I'll tell you guys about a bit of my past. After I finished up coaching at Kansas, I was slated to go coach in Scotland in the NFL Developmental League, in the Europe League. And they folded the team just about a week before I was going to get on a plane. I still think the UK has a lot to offer. A team in Dublin, a team in Liverpool, a team in Edinburgh, and a team in Dublin. You got a 4-team division in the UK and Ireland that I think would work. I would love to see that. In terms of a single city, I don't think it's terribly surprising that you're getting attention in Germany. I think, what was it? They're called the Rhine Fire or something back in the day. I do think Germany has a high appetite for the NFL. Clearly, London would be the most viable if you're just going to have a single team. But I love the idea of a division and a group that can play each other over there. And I think that allows you some scheduling laxness. You can rotate things through. I think that can help make swings and scheduling a little bit better for the players. There's always going to be airfare and all that kind of stuff, but it's the players that you want to keep them healthy. You want to keep them from putting themselves in a position where fatigue puts them at risk of injury. So great question, Alex. Joe, welcome. Louis Riddick is raving about our young players, Prince, Cook, McDuffie, and Rice. He always seems to be on top of Chiefs news. Yes, he certainly is, because he has a lot of lines into the organization. He used to work for Andy. He used to work with Brett Veach, Mike Borgonzi. He knows all of those guys. And so, yes, Louis has unique insight into the Kansas City Chiefs organization. And he was one of the few people with me on the pre-draft evaluation of Cook. So I know he feels like that's paying off. I'm really excited about where Cook's going. And I do think you're seeing more discipline from him at this point. He talks like he's ready to lead this defense, and I think you're going to need that. Between him and Reed playing off of each other back there, I'm super pumped for where that's going. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Justin. Nice to see you again. What are your thoughts about the fight at camp? Sorry if you answered this already. I got here late. Yeah, and I talked a lot about it last night. I do feel like, I've seen a lot of people saying that Kelce was like sucker punching the dude and stuff, hitting him in the back of the head. From the play that I saw, he hit him right in the face, looking at him dead in the eye. My thought is DiCaprio Budo and Jack Cochran should not be messing with Travis Kelce after the whistle in a training camp practice. That's just stupid. If you were to screw around and injure somehow your Hall of Fame tight end, I would immediately jettison either of those guys. And I like both those guys, but that's just stupid. At the same time, Travis Kelce is a leader and a veteran and a Hall of Famer, and he ought to know better than to punch somebody, especially with what he makes his living with his hands. So that was immature as well. I'm glad that he stood up for it and took accountability for it. According to Andy, Andy didn't have to say anything to him. He took it on himself. Good. He should have. That's how I feel. Over under. I think we did this already, Cody, but I like that you put the 0.5s. Okay, so last time you had it, Ross 151. Okay, so Tony 450.5. That's the interesting one right there. If he gets back and he doesn't have to go on IR and we get 14 games out of him, I still think he can be a 1,000-yard receiver. I think it would go Kelce 12, him right around $1,000, Sky around 800, MVS around 700, 800, right in there. Then Rice and Ross kind of filling in. That feels like the way that it ought to go. The question is going to be if Tony has to miss at least 3 games and that flips, Sky actually puts up more yardage than him. Kelce goes up to about 13, 14 is my thought. I don't think touchdowns changes. I think Pat's still on for 5,000 yards. The interesting one to me is going to be where do Rashee Rice and Richie James eat right there in the middle. I do think that there's room for them. So I like this question as well. I do appreciate the 0.5s, buddy. And Scuba Steve, thank you for the support as always. Man is carrying RGR and locked on right now while everyone's on vacation. Yeah, everybody took vacation at the same time. So yeah, it's just me all the time. Sorry if you guys are getting fed up. It's just me and my BS more so than most weeks. So appreciate you, Steve. And Steve E, bigger coaching addition. Brian Flores as DC to the Vikings or Matt Patricia as senior defensive assistant to the Eagles. Far and away Flores, in my opinion. Matt Patricia, I do not feel that he is prepared, certainly to be a head coach and even to be a coordinator type guy. And that's a senior assistant is basically having a second coordinator. The fact that he's left the Patriots again is just more fuel to the fire that nobody can exist without Bill Belichick. There are very few people who've been ever successful without Bill that came up under Bill. McDaniels is another guy. I don't think he's going to be able to right that ship, and I do think he's going to lose his job again because I just don't see how any of these guys can really put it together. Nobody can replicate what Bill does, and I just think they all keep trying to do it rather than being comfortable in their own skin and being themselves. I think that's part of the problem. So I don't know what's going to go on. I do think Flores is not only an excellent DC. I think Flores has head coach caliber skill sets. He's no nonsense dude. He gets the best out of his players. The only thing that I question is the lawsuit and the BS around all that and everything that Miami did that might have put a scarlet letter on him. And I question the decision making on Minkah Fitzpatrick. I don't understand how that relationship might have deteriorated to the point that you voluntarily let go of a player of that caliber. In retrospect, that is clearly a mistake, and I'm not sure what led him to that point. So that would be a couple of my concerns. Thanks, Stevie. Great question. Nix, thank you as always. I love how everyone wants to play with Mahomes. I do too, and I talked about it a couple of years ago. It seems like it was a little bit more on delay than I thought it would be, but now it's like, boom, I can get myself to the point where I'm in the record books. I'm a Super Bowl champion. Like these are the things that Pat playing the way that he has and the run that they've been on the last 4 years is really pulling in the market. And I think that's just going to continue. I expect them to go back to the Super Bowl this year. I expect them to get another win. There's no other way to look at it, and I don't think Patrick would disagree in any way. And that's just going to keep guys coming back. So it is what it is. Thanks, Knicks fan. Appreciate you, dude. Pie Dessert. Nick Bosa is holding out. Top of the edge market is TJ Watt at $28 million a year. Chris waiting for Bosa to sign to go over the top. No, Bosa is an edge, so that wouldn't be a one-to-one either. Neither is TJ. He's an edge as well. Quinn Williams may not have had the contract we were waiting for. Well, that's certainly part of this problem. We all expected Quinnen to come in a little bit higher, and so the gap between 31 at Aaron Donald and what I expected at Quinnen at like 26, 27 was going to put Chris right at 28. It'd be kind of a done deal. Bada boom. Now with Quinnen coming in later, now I think his agents have grabbed onto the fact, okay, we want 30, knowing that they're going to have to negotiate down. I think they're still going to end up at 28, maybe even 27. But because Quinnen came in at like 24, 2 or whatever it was, I do think that put a hiccup in what they were planning. This still feels to me like it's more agent-driven than anything else. And kudos to them. They're doing their job for their client. Their job is to get as much money for Chris Jones every time he's up for a contract. I can't blame them. But holding it out this long is approaching the point where it's detrimental to his performance this year and his ability to earn next year. And it's certainly detrimental to the team. So I'm ready for him to come in. Scott, thank you. What players to watch at the end of camp for us to trade away or to trade for? Well, all the wide receivers that we've talked about, if Andy just thinks I'm crazy and there's no way they keep 7, you can get something for Richie James, especially if he plays well in preseason game action. You can get something for Justin Watson. You might be able to get something for Justin Ross. I think one of those could be an option. I think the running back thing is going to solve itself because the only one available is going to be Clyde. And like I said, I don't think you could get a 7 for him at max. I don't even know if you could get that. Blake Bell probably doesn't have any trade value. I don't think he's got value to anyone else but the Chiefs. And I really do think Matt Bushman's coming for his spot. It's not just that I like Matt Bushman. It's that I think Blake has hit the point where he could pull a Danny Shelton and just go sit on the Chiefs practice squad, make 8 or 10 grand a week for nothing, and just be there in case. And I think that's the best scenario for Blake Bell now. Who else? Deion Bush probably doesn't have much value, but he's a guy that's on the bubble, in my opinion. It's special teams that's keeping him here. Lucas Niang, Tego Inago could be trade bait. Because I think Wanye has put himself into the top 4 tackles. I'm just not sure who 5 is. And tackles are valuable, even for somebody who hasn't played a lot like either of those guys. So you might be able to get a 5th-round pick for one of those dudes. I would certainly be pushing that if I were the Kansas City Chiefs. Just looking at the roster again, Blaine Gabbert's going to be the backup. There is no question. I know we talked about it a month or 2 ago and thought maybe could Michelle push him? No. Just what Breer's piece, if you guys missed Albert Breer's piece on Sports Illustrated, that's a good one to go look at. Breer's piece really outlined just how Patrick thinks and how Patrick sees Blaine Gabbert as a window into Tom Brady's career and his longevity and his process and everything about him. There ain't no way they're moving on from Blaine Gabbert. I think you might be able to get something for Shane Bichelle. I don't know if it would be much, but you might be able to get something. Everybody needs quarterbacks, man. Everybody. Other than that, I think that's probably where your options are going to lie. Thanks, Scott. Thank you, Kevin. Ryan, what if we put Tony on IR and save him for the playoffs? I don't think that would work very well for a player like him. He's very rhythmic and very feedback oriented. You could put him IR for a good while and bring him back and just, keep him on a pitch count. I could definitely get behind that. But he's a guy that needs some juice. He needs to get going. So, definitely, I would think he has to play. If you chose to go that direction, I would think he has to play by week 13 or 14 in order to be ready for the playoffs. So, interesting concept, Kevin. I don't know if they'd do that, but somebody might. Knicks fan, thank you again. I'm surprised you haven't gotten a job with the Chiefs. Well, I appreciate that. Chiefs have been very kind. They listen to me, contact them every year and have some concepts. But they have a very, very, very good front office. I don't do analytics or anything on the coaching side. I would be in the front office. That's my goal. And there are some other teams that have some interest. So being a Super Bowl champion, you probably don't want to mess with the concept too much. But I appreciate the support, Knicks fan, very much. Cheers. Steve, what's your toughest training camp experience when you played in college? Oh, man, that was a tough one. It was the summer of 92. I was 110 days in. Camp was tough. I got into the regular season, wrecked a meniscus. That kind of is what started me down on the spiral. I was light on talent by then anyway. But I remember it was Lawrence in 92. It hit 110. There was a lot of there was flooding that year. So there was a ton of moisture. It was always super humid. And I had just transferred from Washington out on the coast in Seattle. And I was not used to the humidity, and I was puking for days straight. I couldn't get through a practice. I was a 245-pound outside linebacker trying to bulk up and play defensive end, and it didn't work. So they actually moved me into inside linebacker later and over to fullback before my time was done. And so I bopped around quite a bit, but it was that first camp at college. Thanks, Steve. I don't miss those days, I'll tell you that. Reptilian, where's the line between it's just camp versus they're going to be a stud? I have trouble getting hyped for Ross and Rice since it's just camp. I will tell you what my concept is. And it's got a little bit to do with it's just camp. We always see guys flourish in OTAs and camp. There were about, I don't know, 1,000 people screaming at me that I'm an idiot because I didn't believe in Darwin Thompson. Well, we all saw how that worked. There is an aspect to it, but for me, it's more about who the matchups are against. When Justin Ross is playing with the ones and he's getting the third or fourth string corner, that's not much of a matchup. Whether it's Witherstone or Anthony Cook, guys that have no business being on a roster and won't even make a practice squad, that's more of an indicator to me. Whereas Rice, I do believe he's getting more consistent looks at the twos and sometimes the ones. Ross is getting looks at sometimes the ones in the 11 on 11s. So rather than what time of year it is, I always concentrate on what the competition is. When I see a highlight for a wide receiver, I'm always looking at who the defensive back is because that tells me the competition level. And it is drastically different from first string to third string. And if anything beyond that, it's almost a rep that if the receiver doesn't win, I'm more concerned than if he does. That's just my take. Great question, though, and I appreciate that. Scott, how are you? Nice to see you. With Najee Johnson's injury, I know I'm pretty bummed about it. I got to tell you. Is the DB room set, and does it open potential roster spot for another position? I am not sure that it's set. I feel like 5 and 5 safeties and corners is a possibility, and that would be with Najee out. It would be L'Jarius, McDuffie, Watson, Williams, and then it becomes the question. For me, it would be Nick Jones, and you could get away with 5. You could keep 5 safeties that keep Deion Bush specifically for special teams. But we've been hearing all camp that they're rotating really heavily and they want more. Now, maybe that was just because they had Nick Jones who looked good and they had Najee. And so that was making them lean towards 6 DB corners and 4 safeties. But in the end, I think whatever the balance becomes, I think there's still 10 DBs on this roster. So I don't think it opens a roster spot. I think in the end, it just balances out whether it's safeties versus corners or if they're just split evenly. That's kind of how I feel. So you tell me if you disagree, but that's kind of where I'm at. Okay, folks, I'm going to do a last roundup. We're at the hour, but I know there's still probably a few more questions in here. I'm going to grab them, and we'll just do a little speed round, and I will let you guys get back to your lives until tomorrow. I'm trying to do the Locked On Chiefs this week live when I can in the afternoons. For those of you on the East Coast, it'd be like right when work gets out. Obviously, for everybody Central and Mountain like me, it's a little bit earlier, but no promises. But that's the goal that I'm working on. So let's see here. Okay, speed round. Brett, Ryan, do you think that the defense can hang in with the Raven offense? Or are we going to have to score 30 to beat them? That's a great question. And I am one, while I respect Lamar for the player that he is, I don't believe that he is an elite thrower of the football. I think his athleticism plays into a lot of his availability. Now, that said, Dobbins is their back, I believe, still. So it may come down to him running more. The wide receiver threat is definitely there, but the question is going to be is, can you keep everybody happy and can you keep everybody on the same page? I think the Chiefs are going to have to score 28 to beat them. I don't know if they have to score 30. I'm not 100% bought in that this is going to be a revelation for the Ravens offense. Steve, thoughts on Mike Florio calling youth football coaches bozos? That seems arbitrary and rudimentary if you don't know people, but that sounds like Florio, so I can't really tell you much. I put 0 credit into anything that guy says. Brett, another one. Can our corners step up enough to get 10 or more INTs on the season and have at least half of those generate points? Those are different questions. Can they get 10 picks? I think so. I really do. I think McDuffie's a little overdue. I think Joshua was going to pull one down. And I do think Brian Cook's going to be better. And heck, so is Reed. So I do think together collectively, half of those generate points as in pick sixes. That's going to be tough. If you're just talking about them getting into position to score easy points, yes, I do think that's easily applicable. I'd have to go look at the rate of scoring on the following drive after an interception for the last couple of years, but I would bet that it's 50% or above. Great question. True Chief, should we have traded Chris Jones that got more draft capital like we did with Tyreek Hill? I won't say they should have, no. I expected them to get this deal done. I want this deal done. I would not have tried to trade Chris. But if you were going to, that would have been the time. And that, I think, tells us exactly why they didn't really expect to do this. So what comes, if you don't think you can get a deal done, the next evolution of that scenario, to kind of piggyback on what Tyreek did, is to tag Chris next year and trade him under the tag to a destination of his choice that he will sign with. I hope that doesn't happen, but that would be the next possibility of that kind of scenario. But no, I would not go back and say retrospectively that they should have. I think he's been a cornerstone through some bad years, and certainly through the development and helping support Patrick to get us to this point. I think he should be paid. I think he should be open to taking a structure that helps the Chiefs. But I also think that this is the new regime. Numbers for contracts are so high across the board right now that it's hard to stomach. And I'm not even in a front office, so like I can understand how they feel. But no, I don't think you trade away your most elite player on the defensive side of the ball. Is he as good at his position as Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes? No. I would still put both of them as better players on their respective positions. But Chris is third, and he is elite in this league, and he is elite almost generationally at his position. If it wasn't for Aaron Donald, he would be the highest paid defensive tackle. He would probably be the sack leader for anyone inside over the last 3 seasons. He would clearly be the best defensive front player outside of the Bosa's, in my opinion. So I only put that out, and no, that's not reality. You can't just forget about Aaron Donald. I get that. But I'm just saying, like, it's because of Aaron Donald and his excellence that Chris hasn't gotten the contract or the recognition or the kudos that he does deserve, because he's always compared to Aaron Donald. So I can understand where he's coming from wanting to get his. So, and Steve, we'll wrap with yours. Bigger defensive playmaker, Derek Thomas or Chris Jones? Derek Thomas, hands down. It's not a question. Could single-handedly wreck games, could take the ball away, could take quarterbacks away. Ask Dave Craig. Dave Craig runs around in his sleep still scared of Derek Thomas. I guarantee you. So that said, Thundarius, we're gonna leave our thoughts with you tonight. Congrats on the surgical success. Congrats on getting after cancer. I'm here for you. If you ever need anything, shout at me. You know how to get a hold of me. I hope that you guys have a great Monday night. We have content for you, as always. All the guys are in on it. We're going to be playing around with when we release stuff and how everything goes. So be here, get subbed, get liked, get on it. Get in the membership. If you want the Discord, that's where a lot of things are going to happen this year. So that's going to be key. And if you want full access, you got to be a member here. So sign up, hit that join button. I appreciate you guys being here. It's been a fun night, and I know it's a lot of just me talking, but hey, we're going to have some fun with it. And next week we'll be back to normal. In the meantime, Chiefs are off tomorrow. You guys enjoy your day. We'll have some content for you that I think you're going to want to see. And we will be back after that and after that and after that. And I'll try to be back on Friday. Maybe we'll do something live. I'll throw a curveball. You'll need that bell clicked if you want to see that or get the notification. So you guys have a great one. Enjoy the rest of your week, and I'll see you tomorrow.